I'm Max Ada. I've been a weightlifting coach for over 20 years. I have coached multiple national champions, American record holders, Pan Am champions, Pan Am record holders, and world team members. I'm going to tell you today the top 3 snatch mistakes that I see beginners making and how to fix them. The first biggest mistake I see is people cutting the pull really short. They're just not getting full extension at the top of the lift. They're over exaggerating trying to move under the bar, and they end up having way less power at the end of the pull, which really creates problems down the line where they're going to have the bar crashing on their shoulders, they're going to miss out front, they're going to swing it, they're going to jump forward. So it just creates this whole chain of mistakes. So the biggest way to improve this, and really the simplest way to teach someone how to fully extend, is to do snatch high pulls, do power snatches, and then do those incorporated into the actual lift as complexes. Do them as a primer, as a warm-up, or as a complete session themselves. So let's look and see what it looks like when somebody does cut the pull. This is Hannah. She's going to take this lift and end up just shorting it a little bit. You'll see what it looks like when you actually don't get full extension. So right there, she hops forward a little bit. She does a couple more. You can see that when someone cuts the pull, they're oftentimes going to end up stuck at the top of the lift, either hopping forward like she did, or maybe the bar just lands slightly in front of their shoulders, slightly out front, and they have to step forward a few steps to catch it, right? So everything's out in front because of that. Biggest thing here is that at the end of the pull or during the pull, she's focused more on trying to get under the bar and emphasizing that way too early rather than getting full, complete extension and delivering as much power as she can to the top of the lift before she moves under the bar. So first thing we would do is do just a snatch high pull plus a snatch. The benefit of this is that when you do the skill you're trying to develop in close proximity to the skill you want to transfer it to, snatch high pull and then snatch, you're gonna have a better transference of that skill and that technical element than if you did them separately. Hannah could go and do a bunch of snatch high pulls for sets and reps and whatever after the fact, but the skill transfer is not there. We want to do them as a complex, so right away we do a snatch pull, then we do a snatch. As we sequence this and we progress in the program, it's a really good idea to do something a little bit more complex than just the snatch pull. So we do the high pull first early in the program, or one day in the week, and then the next day we do a power snatch plus a snatch. So you can do one here. Benefit of doing the power first, just like the snatch high pull, it teaches full extension, but at the same time we incorporate a little bit more complexity where she actually has to catch the weight, right? So she's gonna learn what it feels like to pull against the bar for a long time, like in the power snatch, and then immediately turn around and catch the weight. And that's the skill we're trying to develop. The difference here and the downside to doing just powers is that she's not going to get that same transfer to deep, catching the bar really low or catching it in the full squat. So those 2 exercises are great ways to start to alleviate that issue of cutting the pull. There's a lot of other things you can do, but this is the basic place to start if you struggle with cutting the pull too early. Quick announcement. I recently opened up 5 new spots for my one-on-one remote coaching. If you've been waiting to work with me to get stronger, improve your technique, or hit that next PR you've been chasing, here's your chance. I love working with enthusiastic lifters who want to put in the work and get better no matter your age or experience level. So if that sounds like you, then click the link in the description to book your free consultation call with me, and let's see if it's a good fit. The second biggest mistake I see is that athletes have a huge power snatch and they can't match that same weight in the classic lift. So if you power snatch or power clean more than you can do in the full lift, that's a big problem. The reason it's happening most likely is because you're missing one of 2 things. You don't have a good concept of how to get a good explosion at the top of the pull, so you're just pulling as long as you possibly can to get the bar as high as you can, and then getting under it where you do, it's always going to end up being a power snatch that way. The second thing is that if you don't have good mobility or good mechanics and moving under the bar well, you're going to end up just powering it and catching it high, or the bar is out in front and you just end up catching it where it is because you don't have good pulling mechanics. So 2 things we do to fix this. 1, stop doing powers altogether. We're just not going to do things that are reinforcing the issue we already have. And then 2, we're going to do things that emphasize moving under the bar fast. The way to do this is to cut down the distance you have to accelerate the bar so you're forced to move under it deeper. We do that with movements like hang snatches or power position snatches. So I'll have her demonstrate what it looks like to power more than you full. Obviously, we can't show that, but a power snatch is gonna be something where that's way more comfortable for her to power, and then she has to ride it down after she catches it. You do one more. So you'll see she'll pull the bar really high, catch it, and then finally start to squat down. Or in a lot of cases, athletes will catch the bar really high and then have to take a few seconds to really adjust before they can sit down to the full squat. So how we address this. One, we're gonna do a lot of hang snatches. So she's gonna do hang snatch from mid-thigh, kind of high hang above the knee. The benefit of this is that when she shortens the distance she has to accelerate the bar, she doesn't have as much time to build speed and velocity in the pull, so she's gonna have to be more aggressive in turning the bar over. This is a great exercise to do with more intensity, a little bit higher weights, and incorporate as a complex. The second drill we would do is like a power position snatch. So she'll start the bar at the hip, bend just the knees, maybe lean forward a little bit or stay totally vertical, but either way, drive from the hip and then turn it over and catch the bar. So basic thing here is it's just an even more abbreviated version of the snatch. There's 0 time to pull the bar up or start to accelerate the bar, and then she's gonna end up squatting down really deep to catch it. I like these two drills because they eliminate the thing that's really causing the problem, which is having this huge pull all the way to the top, and then she has to, you know, basically focus on moving under the bar only with these exercises. Again, like we did with the other issue with, you know, catching the bar or cutting the pull, these should be done as complexes as well. Early in the training cycle, we should sequence them where we're doing a hang snatch plus a classic snatch, or we're doing a power position snatch plus a classic snatch. You could do multiple reps of hang or powers and then into the classic snatch, but ultimately all we're concerned with a complex is priming the skill we want and then transferring it to the actual thing we're trying to do. So doing multiple reps or 3 position snatches just feels like a waste of effort and time. It's redundant to do multiple different things, then try to transfer that skill. Just focus on concentrating one technical element, the hang snatch, right next to the classic snatch, and reinforce what it's like to move under the bar rapidly and aggressively. There's a host of other drills we can do, things as drop snatch, snatch balances, you know, tall snatches. All these are great as primer movements, but they're really not gonna do the same thing that like a hang snatch would. You just can't load them in an effective way that's gonna develop the same skill as you would if you did heavy hang snatches as a complex or as a standalone movement. So if you power more than you snatch, we know stop doing powers and then start doing more movements that are gonna emphasize the top of the pull and the turnover. The third major issue I see is that athletes don't get their knees back under the bar well in the transition. So once the bar passes your kneecaps in the pull, in the first pull, your knees have to naturally shift back under the bar in order to get you into the right position. Your hips extend, your knee flexes, and you get into a good position. A lot of athletes aren't doing this well because they're ending up in a place where they just try to pull as hard as possible and they're driving through their legs. Their knees maybe don't transition well, or they don't move their knees back off the floor well. So what we want to do is show you kind of what this is going to look like. It can appear in different ways. One way is that the legs basically straighten and they don't do a good job of rebending after the bar passes them. Another example is where the knees don't straighten at all and the bar gets pulled around them and there's no actual really quality first pull happening there. So she does this as well, where she doesn't straighten her legs much, and then the bar passes the knee by going around it. It's going to create problems. Either way, the issue is that you're not doing a good job getting your knees to move back under the bar. So there's 2 things I would do to fix this and to really reinforce this, and they're both going to involve a lot of work around the knee. So the first thing is I would have her do a pull where she pauses just above the knee. And in doing this, I wanted to exaggerate what it's like when the knee moves back under the bar. So she's gonna do a pull up to the knee just above it, and as she passes the knee, the first couple inches here, she's gonna push her knee under more aggressively, okay? Oh, and then just go back down to the floor. So she's gonna do a pull up to the knee, or up to the knee, so we want it to look like this. So when you pull here to above the knee, and then push under. And what we're doing when we do this is exaggerating what it's like. The knee moves back, then the knee moves forward, right? This is not exactly what's gonna happen in the lift, but we get a chance to push up and then push the knee under so we can practice this motion. We wanna get comfortable with this, so we pull it back into our hips, properly. So a pull to above the knee, so yep, don't go all the way to your hip, just stop, yeah, bottom third. So come up, push your knees under, stop, yeah, good. Don't go quite that high either. Yeah, so come up, a little higher, right there. So the bar stops like right here. Yeah, do one more. So she comes up, then pushes the knees under, there we go, good. And this is a really exaggerated form of the movement. The reason we want to exaggerate it is so we can get comfortable with what it feels like to do it right. When you actually pass the knee, your knee has to move back under the bar. Once you do this a few times, you're gonna get comfortable with what it feels like to stay balanced in the middle of your foot, let your knee travel back under the bar so you're in a position to actually get into the power position well, and then get comfortable with what it's like to actually have your knees moving backward and forward during the lift. It's really easy to get into that place as a beginner where you're just trying to pull as hard as possible and you miss that sort of smooth action of what's gonna happen with the legs. So after she does this though, we wanna transfer that skill just like we did with everything else. So it's a great exercise to do as a complex, where we would do a few reps like this to reinforce the skill, then immediately do a snatch after. So what I have you do is do maybe 2 reps where you pause above the knee and then do a snatch right after. So smooth to the knee, above the knee, shift under, good. Knees under, good. And then do a snatch. Good. This is a really good drill, it's a really good exercise. You're gonna get more skillful at it if you practice it again and again, but again, this is something that is designed to be slightly exaggerated so that you get comfortable with what it feels like to do it correctly so that you can transfer the actual skill to the snatch later on. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and then check out my other video in this series on programming on strength development for weightlifting.